Hello, Mrs. Ehlke here. Today I wanted to talk about Bible story illustration. I have had the privilege of working on a bunch of Bible stories for a company called Cross Connections for Early Learners. It's geared towards preschool students who are learning all about the Bible. And here are some of examples of the illustrations I've done. That was Noah's Ark. Here's Jacob's ladder. We have, of course, Moses and the burning bush, and the Good Shepherd. We have Jesus calming the storm. And then Jesus comes into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. Jesus dies on the cross. Jesus with his disciples revealing himself after he rose from the dead. Jesus ascending into heaven. So all of these illustrations are done with watercolor and ink. And what I usually do is I start off with a pencil and just make a really light sketch of a circle. More of an oval really, and then I kind of figure out the face shape. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do Jesus, since he's in a lot of the stories, of course. And I add his hair around his beard. And then I'm just going to do kind of a real basic body shape for him, where he'll just be standing. I'm not even going to do his entire body, just kind of the upper section. But I just use real light pencil lines to kind of sketch out how I want my characters to be standing or sitting or what they're doing. And I a lot of times will even look up other illustrations that other people have done, even realistic ones or more detailed ones, and then I'll kind of decide, okay, what do I want to do for this? How do I want to make it work for me? And follow the style that I'm using. So once I have my very basic pencil sketch in, I use a Sharpie to make the lines nice and solid. I take my time on this to make sure my lines are nice and neat. So again, I start with the face, I add in the hair and the beard, keeping it very simple. Even though I didn't have eyes before, I'm going to go ahead and draw them. I keep the eyes pretty low down for this style of illustration. The nose and mouth, you can see, are also very simple. I'm going to go ahead and add part to his robe that wasn't there before, but I know kind of where to put it because I have just the sketch of his body. And then I'm going to add his sleeves on both sides to try to make sure that they match in length. The hands, a lot of times I draw basically like mittens, so I'll make the thumb separate, but I'll keep the fingers all together just to make it more simplified. And I don't get overly detailed. Now this is the style that I use. If you want to get more detailed with your illustrations, be my guest. But because I was doing this for a preschool group, we wanted to keep the illustrations pretty simple. All right, I've added all that I want to add with marker. Now I'm going to take my eraser and just lightly go over and erase some of the pencil lines that are still there from when I sketched the original sketch. And I want to do this before I paint, because once you paint, the pencil lines are usually stuck onto the paper. Now the paper I'm using is a watercolor pad, so it's thicker than like what regular printer paper would be, so it won't wrinkle when I add the paint. And you can see I've got watercolor paint. I usually start with the face, and I usually mix kind of a orange and red together to make kind of a skin color. I go a little bit darker for Jesus's complexion. And I go ahead and fill in the entire face with that color. And then while the face is still wet, I usually add a little bit of pink by the cheeks. And it'll just kind of bleed into the face color. While I have that mixed, I'm also going to do the hands, the pinkish orange mixture. Sometimes I'll blend in a light brown with that too to get this darker skin color. Now the next section I'm going to do, I don't want to be touching any of the skin, because if I work right next to the skin, it could bleed into the skin that I just did. So I pick this kind of sash that goes over the robe because it's not in contact with any of the skin that I just painted. And I'm just going to pick a red color. It's kind of a darker red. And I'm just trying to fill in the space with color for now, and then I'll go back and add a little bit more detail to it after this has dried a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and do the belt right now too. If the sash and the belt blend a little bit, it's not the end of the world. But I'm still trying to be careful so that I don't get a lot of bleeding from one color to the next. Now that the face is pretty much dry, I'm going to go ahead and do the hair, and I'm mixing black and brown to get a really nice dark rich color for the hair color. And I'm still being careful just in case the face is a little wet. So, because if this bleeds into the face, I'll get a really, really dark color in there. But I'm pretty sure it's dry. I'm going to go ahead and fill the beard in too. Just make sure it's all filled in with the dark black and brown mixture. A lot of the Bible characters have pretty dark hair, so I was able to use kind of a black mixed with brown. Or if some of the Bible characters are older, then I can use black watered down to make kind of a gray. So that's kind of something to think about as you make your own Bible characters, maybe how old they are, if they would have dark hair, or if it would be more gray. Brown and blue mixed together can make a nice gray too. Right now I'm just going to add kind of a golden yellow to his robe so it's not so white. I'll just kind of make it more of an off-white color. And I'm mixing it with quite a bit of water so that it's nice and light. Some of the areas that I like to darken are like where the arm and the body meet each other, that line right there. Near the belt I would make darker, maybe under the sash I would make a little bit darker, just to give it a little bit more depth so it doesn't look quite so flat. So as I'm doing this, I may add just a little bit more paint in those areas to darken them up just a little. I'm even bringing a little bit of this orangish color in to darken a little bit more instead of the gold that I originally used. And that's about it. I would of course add some background, or maybe if there's other people in the scene, I would add that as well. But otherwise, that's kind of the basics on how I illustrate a person for a Bible story.